Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show. Glad you are back. This is the Thursday edition. I hope everybody's had a great week. I'm sitting here with my good friend Sara Gonzales, the host of the news and why it matters on Blaze TV. We're going to get to you in a minute. We're going to get.
Oh boy!
Thank you for making the long trek over. You've had me on so many of your shows.
Yes.
So I was happy that you were willing to come over here and hang out with me over here in Studio 22 in the Redneck Riviera studio. You like our little? I'm just surrounded by whiskey.
That's why I came. I was told that there was whiskey.
That's the deal. So if you give us the wide shot back in here, Mark, you see that we have our apple juice. That's what we refer to it as, the apple juice on the rocks. And, of course, we have Herbert the Silent Deer back here. He has a microphone just in case something divine happens and it's time for him to talk. We got Sean Bougie Sean Foster, who is in here. We got Brandon, who's sitting in here. We got director Mark, who we still have not nicknamed, but it's coming. Ooh. And, of course, Party Foul Steve. Those guys are sitting over there behind the control board. We're going to have a good time. Steve looks like a puppet in that shot. Look at that thing. Like if Mark would just put if Mark would put his hand over there behind him, he would...
I feel like we've done this before.
So funny. The GoPro angle on that control board is so funny to me. If you live in the state of Texas and you are not using energyogre.com and promo code WatchChad, then you're making a mistake. It's the best thing that is in the state of Texas, I'm telling you, and there's some really great things in the state of Texas. If you want to save 60, 70% on your power bill every single month, letting Energy Ogre shop for you, I promise you, you're going to fall in love with them. So, have you ever used Energy Ogre? Do you know what it is?
No, but okay. You're talking about it, and I'm like, I'm listening.
So I've been with Energy Ogre for a couple of years now. Energy Ogre, we save about $2,400 a year on our power bill. And let me tell you what happens. So they do something for us that, first of all, you have to live in a deregulated area. So the Dallas-Fort Worth area is deregulated. Houston's deregulated. A lot of the little towns. If you're not on a co-op, because the co-op is in control, but if you're in a place where you can go out and shop your power bill, then that's a great thing. And they're working on getting this nationwide. Basically, Energy Ogre, the founder, he came up with this computer algorithm where he could go out and shop. You could do it, but we're all too lazy to do it. We signed the contract and we're like, okay, well, I'm with, whoever, TXU Energy, and that's it. And we're there for years and years, and we're too lazy to change that. You might be with a new power provider every single month. They might change every 2 or 3 months. They won't put you in a long-term contract. They'll have it so that they will change you. The only potential what I call hassle is you might have to pay a paper bill one month or an online bill the next month. They'll notify you.
Yeah.
But they won't even let you sign up if they can't save you money.
Wow.
That's incredible. And then it's only $10 a month. And if you use promo code WatchChad, not only do I get credit for it because that's what we do in this world, but you'll get free months for that. So I encourage people, if you're in a deregulated part of Texas, Jade and I have not spent more than $90 on a power bill. We used to pay $400.
What?
$300, $400 was regular for us.
Even in the Texas summer?
Yes.
That's
Burleson,
crazy.
Texas, we still pay. I mean, if we get a bill, I think there was one time we had to pay some kind of catch-up thing, and we got like a $120 bill that came in. We were like, what is this abomination that came in? But no, we pay $85, $90 a month on our power bill. And let me tell you, that woman likes it. She likes her heat. She likes her.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got to check this out as soon as I get home.
Oh, yeah. EnergyOgre.com. Use it, yeah. I don't mind anybody telling. Out of your $10 for every household, I get $2. And you know what? That adds up.
Yeah.
So I encourage people. Go do it.
Free market.
But let me tell you, if people say, it's too good to be true, yeah, it's one of those. It's that good.
Wow.
They're awesome. So, and our folks at Folds of Honor, I'm wearing Folds of Honor. They're sponsoring them. They've become a sponsor of Folds of Honor. So they're good people.
Yeah.
Good folks. How did you get involved in even caring about the news?
Well, I mean, it's mostly politics. I've just been involved or curious about politics for pretty much my entire adult life, and probably started about 16-ish. But I was the person who was passing out flyers, just of my own accord, went and printed flyers on my college campus during the John Kerry election. Yeah. During all of that, I was passing out flyers on campus. That
passing out the Vietnam, and this guy's all that stuff.
Yeah. So when we, of course, I did a shirt that said John Kerry, but I made it to where It said joke with the J and the K.
Yeah.
Just so that it was put on my shirt a certain way. But I've always just been weirdly fascinated with politics, which I guess I like insufferable things.
Would you consider yourself, because this is if you notice how the vocabulary has changed over the last few years, for instance, would you consider yourself historically an activist?
It's
such a strong word these days.
It is these days. But historically speaking,
yeah.
Yes, but I feel like now it has a negative connotation, so I hesitate to use the word activist.
It does have a negative, and it shouldn't. If you have conviction, why don't you express your conviction? But these days, like 2 weeks ago, I got called politically radical.
You?
Yeah, I know. I'm just
That's funny.
I lean conservative. I tend to label myself libertarian. I've never registered with a political party. I have always been quick to call out everybody that runs. I don't care if it's Donald Trump all the way down to John Kerry.
Yeah.
I call them all out. But I've been called 2 weeks ago, I was called a political radical.
Do you know in reference to what?
No, I actually
generally
inquired.
speaking,
I just said, what is it what would you consider that I've said that's called me a political radical? Because a word, and what I've learned is if you have conviction, you're radical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if there are things that you're unbending on, like I am unbending on the concept of pro-life. I believe in unborn babies. Proverbs 31:8 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves." I believe in that. I believe in speaking up for those who can't. So that's one of those things. I believe in limited government. Unfortunately, but hey, let's face it, we do live in a world where even the most conservative people in Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi, if all of a sudden you limited the government, their life would be in shambles.
That's true.
And they may be conservatives, but guess what?
That's
You're not
true.
living in government subsidized apartments anymore. So that's going to get me in trouble, but I don't care.
I think that it's sad that the thought that you would speak up for unborn babies would somehow make you radical.
I know.
That's to me, that's just a morally sound concept that, you would think that, hey, when we're talking about the New York bill and a couple other states that have passed it, like, hey, a 9-month-old in the womb child who's fully developed and about to come out should not be killed. That's not radical to me. That's just moral.
Yeah, if you saw a 2-year-old toddler out in the street that walked out into traffic and you ran out and sacrificed your life to pull that child away from getting killed by a car.
Yeah.
Would they call you a radical or
You'd
a
be
hero?
A hero. Absolutely
Exactly.
a hero.
So, see, there's a fine line with all of those things. And these days, we've talked about this in prior episodes about how if you can control the language, you can control the culture. So that's why I bring that up about being an activist. When I was in college, I would get up. I went to the University of Georgia. Here I am, a freshman in college. I would go at 6 o'clock in the morning to the center of campus and meet with a group of friends, and we would pray for our campus. And people said, these guys, they're nuts. They're crazy. And it's like, no, we actually care about you.
Yeah.
I mean, if that makes us radicals, whatever.
Right.
But, activism has become a funny thing. We think of Jane Fonda, Hanoi Jane.
Yeah.
We think of the Parkland shooting survivors and all the kids that are in the anti-NRA people and the people who are the most outspoken on Alyssa Milano on Twitter.
She's the worst. I can't.
But she's an
stand
activist.
her.
She's an activist, and I had such a crush on her as a kid.
Well, and now you're really disappointed, aren't you?
She's still hot. I mean,
I still have a crush on her.
But I mean, then you hear her talk. And
Sean, what do you think? Is she still hot or not?
I still have a crush on her.
Alyssa Milano, you do, don't you?
I got a picture of her the other day from the NRA convention last year. She had a little rally out front, and I was like, she's still kind of hot.
I went by. I said hi. I was like,
I waved at her. She gave me a smile.
Yeah, I went
had
by
the
and said
video.
hello to Alyssa Milano. She didn't say hi back, but whatever.
The personality doesn't ruin it.
It does a lot. It really does a lot of work on that,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you have to be really hot to overcome that personality.
Yeah, Steve, hot or not?
Not
hot?
No, that
you,
turned
Steve.
her.
No, it kind of
just too
ran with it.
crazy.
Mark, hot or not?
Not hot.
Not hot. Brandon? Do you know who we're talking about?
No, a picture would do a lot.
I'll show you afterwards. Anyway, he's in
He's
puberty.
curious.
He's in puberty. Trust
he is
me.
curious
she's
now.
hot. Yeah.
Yeah, she's hot.
When it comes to him, she's hot. He's in puberty. Yeah, probably is.
Okay.
Yeah. Brandon
I'm in
hasn't
puberty
met a
too
girl-
still.
I mean, she's not a grandma.
Yeah.
She's not
So
bad
she'd be
to
hot
look at,
too.
but I don't want to listen to her. I don't want to.
I had the
It's a
crush when
turn
I was a
off.
kid when she was on Who's the Boss. And little known trivia fact, her boyfriend for a couple of episodes, his name was Chad.
They named him after you. Is that where we're going with that?
No, but it made me happy when I was watching it as a kid.
What about
So-
her mom on the show?
Yeah. I'd be afraid to see that. Tony Danza, by the way, we had this conversation out in Hollywood a couple of weeks ago. He's still in really great shape. Like he refuses to admit his age and to do
Really?
like that's an issue with him. Like he's still into boxing and he's all into getting into shape and like he doesn't want to be typecast as the older guy.
Old guy.
Because he's like, why do I have to be? Well, you're 72, so
He
kind of.
doesn't want to be typecast as anything, but I haven't seen him on anything. I don't think you have to be worried about being
72?
typecast if you're not even getting roles anymore.
Yeah. He's 70 years old. He's in his early 70s.
Jeez.
So
That makes me
time
feel
passes
old.
by.
That makes me feel really
Yes,
old.
he is.
You know, Sarah, you're not. So there you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the news. You host a show on Blaze TV called The News and Why It Matters. It is. And thank you, by the way, for letting me participate in that. It's
Yeah,
one of my
thanks for coming.
favorite formats of everything that happens on the Blaze because let's look at what's going on today, what's the most important topic of the story, and let's talk about the evolution of that because you have to put up with a lot of personalities on that and control them. How hard is that to do?
It's difficult. It's easier now than it was when we first started the show, because you had me, who I had done television before, just as, being a guest on other people's shows, right? And I guest hosted Dana Lash, her show, whenever she was on The Blaze. But I had never done it before. And then I get thrown into this position where I'm basically having to tell my boss when to shut up.
Yeah.
Right? Because Glenn Beck is on the show.
And he doesn't like to shut up.
He does not like to shut up.
Not a fan of shutting up.
He talks he talks more than anyone I know, which I guess is a really good trait to have when you're in radio.
When
right?
you talk all day.
Yeah, when you're in radio, that's what you're trained to do. But, this started out as a 30-minute show. And so with commercials, it's 24 minutes, 22 minutes. And getting to everyone else's topics, I was just like, I don't want to offend him. I don't know him very well, but I really need him to shut up. And I just want to keep my job. And I'm just trying to juggle all these things. It's much easier now.
Well, and so now you have overtime.
Yes.
Which, of course, is great because people who have a subscription to the Blaze, they get the overtime.
Yes.
And that's one of the beautiful things about having creative content here at the Blaze is that they are more than willing to put so much content out on social media, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, wherever they put it, and you can get the news and why it matters on there. But if you want to get the overtime, you need to be able to watch the full episode, and that's where some of the meat really gets broken down on some things.
Yeah.
And you're right. I've experienced that, and like my mother called me recently. She's like, well, I wish they would let you talk more. And I was like, well, they're not letting me talk, but it's Glenn Beck.
Yes.
And it's Stu. And I'm
Right.
like, I'm going
What are
to
you gonna
let
do,
them
interrupt them?
say what they want to say. And then I'm just, Johnny come lately this on the totem pole. Just thank you for letting me be on the totem pole.
No,
So,
I would say
Oh,
you bring
no.
an awesome
No.
dynamic to the show. We love having you on.
I just love being on. So.
Well, there is something to, though, Glenn is a storyteller at heart, right?
Sure.
So he starts in on this story that when he starts, you don't realize it's going to be 10 minutes long in a, 22-minute show, but you can't interrupt him in the middle of the story because he hasn't reached the conclusion of whatever story he's talking about. So there's not really a good way sometimes to hurry it up or cut him off, but I do my best.
I like Glenn. I love Glenn.
I love Glenn too.
I've always appreciated
I call him my
Glenn.
TV dad.
He's always been so much more than gracious with me.
Yeah.
Glenn is an outspoken person. We all know that. He has his ideas and opinions, and he's got some that have been very controversial over the years. He's struggled. He's had his own challenges. He'd be the first one to ever tell you that. But I've had people, and you can talk to this to the degree you want to talk to it. I'd be interested to get your perspective
You're trying
on
to
it.
get me fired. I feel like you're
I
trying to
know.
get me fired
No, I would
right
never
now.
do that. This is all my fault. But whenever CRTV merged with the Blaze, we had a lot of pushback. People said, "Well, I don't want to be, Glenn." And I've done what I could. Glenn, first of all, doesn't need me to defend him. He doesn't. Glenn stands on his own. But I've told people, I said, I've been around Glenn, and no, I don't expect to agree with everything. I don't expect to agree with anything everybody,
Right.
everything anybody says.
Right.
But I don't expect them to agree with me either. That's fine. It's okay to have those differing opinions.
Yeah.
And that's what I've tried to explain to people. I'll say, hey, you know what? If you believe in grace, be gracious when it comes to...
Right.
Because everybody struggled through... Let me tell you, the last 4 years of our lives politically and in terms of the media, it's been hard for everybody.
Yeah, it is. And I think that it's important that, we reflect on how hard it also is to come back and basically apologize and
Right.
say, I shouldn't have done what I did. I shouldn't have said what I said. I wasn't seeing it from your point of view, but I see it now, and he has come out and said that. And so, and it hasn't been for, for personal gain or anything like that. I remember we had a show during Trump's first year that we were kind of doing a report card on how he had done, if he had lived up to all of the promises that he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And we were all like, you know what? For the most part, in this last, 6 or 9 months, however long it was, he's actually lived up to what he said he was going to do. He said that he was going to do X, Y, Z, and he did it. And, I feel like it was at that point that Glenn had a realization the next day was when he wore the MAGA hat on radio, which everyone talked about, because it wasn't some manufactured thing. Like we really had a conversation, and he went, gosh, he really has done what he said he was going to do thus far, and we have to give credit where credit is due, and I think he's really good at doing that.
Back during the presidential primaries, when they were trotting out all those different candidates, and I did a video on social media where I said trying to pick which candidate to go with is like trying to pick which venereal disease you're most okay living with for the next 4 to 8 years. And so, and that we voted for the clap.
From personal experience?
We voted for the clap. So we were, and I would just tell you, because we talked about this on yesterday's episode, Sean and Jason and I went out after the show in Salina, Kansas, after my show, in Salina, Kansas, and we walked into this first bar. It was called Paramount. Paramount. And they said, this is the place you want to go after hours. And so Uber drove us over there. We came in the back door, and as they came through the thing, they walked past the live band. Now, I went into the restroom in the hallway. Sean and Jason go through, and I can hear the band in the restroom, and I thought they were singing a song called She Took a Crap. She took a crap, and then they were clapping. She took a crap, and it was a rock band. It was loud, right? So I come out, and they were singing a song called "She Got the Clap."
She got the clap.
She got the clap. She got the clap. And when they walked in, here comes a Latino and a Jamaican walking through, and you could hear the needle scratch off the record. I mean, everybody's looking at him. Then here comes the cowboy walking through, and I looked at them because they had walked to the far end of the restaurant, and I said the bar, and I was like, okay, round it up, we're headed out because I don't want to stay in here and catch the clap. So anyway, we went, we went out.
Wow.
So no, I made that statement, and there's a former host who used to be on the Blaze, and she had me on her show, and she said, so I don't understand, are you a Trump supporter or not? And I said, I am now. I was not.
Yeah.
I was vocally not.
Yeah.
And I can remember being in Las Vegas. I took my mother on a trip to Las Vegas. I asked my mother, I said, Mom, you've been through a lot in the last year. Can I take you on vacation somewhere, anywhere in the world? She said, I want to go to Vegas. And I'm like, why? She goes, I just love Vegas. I want
She
to go
likes to
play.
party.
I want to go play blackjack.
Your mom
Let me
likes
tell
to
you, if you
party.
knew my mother, you would know that she does everything but party. And so she goes, I can remember seeing Kenny Rogers. He was singing at a lounge there. And I'm like, well, it's changed.
That's not Vegas
in the
now,
last 35
Mom.
years. It's changed. So I can remember having that conversation with her because, there's two men that you don't make fun of. One is Jesus and the other is Donald Trump when it comes to my mother. So my mother made this weird comment to me one time, Mark. She said, I love Donald. I just want to stand behind him and massage his jaws so they'll relax. So he'll just look. She's like, he just looks so mad all the time. I just want to massage. I just want to massage his jaws.
I have to meet your mother.
I know you do. My mother's
my
a trip,
gosh.
dude. She's a trip.
That is wild.
Every now and then we'll call her on the podcast, and I'll get her on speakerphone, and she hates that, but people love it. I think the most downloaded podcast of last year was called "Chad Calls His Mother," and we totally surprised her. So it was fun.
That's
But I
amazing.
told my mom, I said, Mom, she's like, I just love it when he gives speeches. And I'm like, but what does he say? What's he saying?
Yeah.
Now we realize what he was doing. He was cheerleading in a big way. He was rallying the base.
Yes.
And it was what it was. And won him the election.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
So,
He
hey.
got elected and he went in and did what he did.
Yeah.
But how hard is it? How hard is it to be, like, do you think of yourself as a conservative? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how hard is it in this day and age is it to be a conservative? How do you have to defend yourself as a woman? Like why in the
yes.
world would you be a conservative when all these sexists and bigots and all these...
Yes. Yeah.
What challenge have you faced with that?
Well, clearly, first off, the patriarchy is trying to come into my bedroom.
Hell yes.
And tell me what to do as, a female, what to do with my own body. So how in the world could I go along with men who are trying to control me, right?
Yeah.
I get that all the time. But, especially the fact that, my last name is Gonzales. So my paternal side is of Hispanic descent.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, how in the world could you support and be a part of a party who wants to deport you? I'm like, I'm a legal citizen, first of all. Nobody wants to deport me, but thanks for your racism. I mean, that's pretty racist to assume that in the first place. But I mean, it's a struggle. But I think more so it's a struggle to just be a conservative, not even a conservative woman. But we're in this weird place where both parties are kind of eating their own, and you're not allowed to disagree with whatever the line of the party is, even if you step back and say, hey, I don't actually think that's very conservative. For instance, with Trump's tariffs and the trade war.
Right.
I'm like, I don't agree that it should be a conservative principle that now all of a sudden trade wars are good. I mean, we've seen throughout history, trade wars never end up well. Tariffs do not end up well for us. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to like them and be in support of them and be in favor of them because Donald Trump is president. And I don't agree with that. But then I get pushback from people when I say I don't agree with it, even though when Trump does something conservative, I'm the first one to cheer him on.
Right.
But I think the same thing is happening with the left. You've got all of the presidential candidates who have come out and said, we support this Green New Deal, which is just absolutely bonkers crazy. Yeah. And, they support all of these really radical things. And the other side of the left, I think the more moderate Democrats, are also not allowed to criticize the radical extremism that's going on in their party. So we're just in this really weird place in 2019. Everyone's eating their own.
Yeah, it's a weird place. I keep calling it the circular firing squad. And it's everybody on the left is trying to out-radicalize each other.
Yes.
And then Schultz comes out and he wants to run as an independent who's a lifelong Democrat. And they devoured him because, first of all, he's rich and successful. So you can't be that these days. You have to be oppressed. You got to be a person of color. You got to be oppressed. You got to be some kind of,
a POC, as we like to call them on the streets.
A POC.
Yes.
Good Lord, have mercy. You just took PC and added an O in the middle of it, say POC. Yeah, there's there's some jokes I could make there that are inappropriate. But anyway, but that's the crazy thing. Like, and even on, like, I look at Trump, and you disagree with me on this if you do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even Trump's policies and decisions he's made in many ways have been very moderate. Like, he's been very middle of the road with the things he's done.
Yes.
He's done so many things. Because I've said if a Democratic candidate came out and was just more diplomatic and a little more politician and could be a little more of a statesman or stateswoman and do the same things Donald Trump was doing, they'd win the election in 2020.
Absolutely.
If they could just come out and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, it'd be the same thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I do think, too, it kind of goes back to your original point that it's all about the messaging because the Democrats, like it or not, they've done a really good job of creating successful messaging that somehow they just kind of steal the narrative and make it whatever they want it to be. So, for instance, now we're supposed to believe that building a wall is immoral. I mean, it's not immoral. Every single other country has some sort of a barrier to make sure that the border is recognized and to protect strangers from coming into their country.
Yeah.
But now we've got, creating a wall, building any kind of border is immoral. And it's like, no, it never used to be. It wasn't a controversial thing.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, it's controversial and it's immoral.
This is why I love the Chad Prather show. Now, she's making great points, and she is sitting there, and she is holding that glass like this. I mean, she is Nancy Pelosi in this thing right here. I mean, she's like, Happy Valentine's Day. I mean, Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
I love it. That's the beauty of this show. Is we have apple juice.
I love my apple juice.
And then we talk about the issues of the day. So that's the thing is, because you're 100, in my opinion, I think you're 100% right. I think you're 100% right on that deal. They have done a great job of controlling the dialogue. They have. We were talking about earlier this week on another episode. We were talking about. Oh no, this was a different. I was on the Order of Man podcast, and he said, "Do you think that?" Talk about masculinity and femininity and these issues and values and stuff that we've traditionally held on to. And they said, do you think the majority of America believes like that or like, and I said, the majority of America believes like we do.
Yes.
But the vast largesse of the platforms out there, whether it's mainstream media or Hollywood, the folks with the bigger voices, they are going to continue pushing that minority narrative that's a smaller viewpoint, but it seems like it's a big deal.
Yeah, you think that it's the larger viewpoint because that's what you're being inundated with.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, they are controlling not only the dialogue but the narrative, and that begins to be the way you perceive reality. And this Jussie Smollett story is a perfect example of that. Is a guy comes out and says, "Look, I'm gay, I'm black." And I was a victim of a hate crime. Well, everybody jumps on that. Cory Booker says, condemn them.
Yes.
And then now that it's being turned into what looks to be a fake hoax hate crime, he's like, well, I'm going to withhold my opinion until there's further evidence on this thing.
Yes, let's be slow to judge, Cory.
Let's be slow to judge the people that you don't want to judge, but the people you wanted to judge, by God, we were ready to cast them all into the deep fires of hell. So that's problematic there. That's when you're controlling the dialogue and it gets bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, even in that same statement that Cory Booker made, he said, well, I mean, I don't want to rush to judgment here. Let's wait till the facts come out. But this is a great opportunity to talk about the fact that most violence and, attacks in this country, on this soil, come from right-wing men, right-wing terrorists.
Yeah.
And so it's like, no, sweetheart, we just learned that this was a hoax.
Yeah.
That's not the appropriate time to try to push some theory.
It's still a narrative.
That conservative white men are the problem.
But we don't talk about in the mainstream media where a guy pulls out a gun on somebody with a MAGA hat, and then you've got a felon who's a shooter that winds up killing 5 people in a workplace this past week, and winds up dead himself. These aren't legal gun owners that are doing that, but that doesn't fit the narrative, so we don't want to talk about that.
Right.
We need the legal gun. So it's a weird little twist, and that is why I appreciate so much what you do with the news and why it matters.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about everything from major issues to a minor celebrity tweet and why that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It is. Well, it is. I mean, especially when you're talking about a celebrity tweet, you could look at that and say, whatever, who cares what Alyssa Milano is saying other than Chad because he has a crush on her.
I do.
But, you could look at that and say, why does it matter? But in 2019, social media is a big deal. And unfortunately, we have this younger generation who is growing up in this social media world where they take to heart everything they read on social media from someone who has a blue check mark. And so they're being shaped and influenced by all of these crazy opinions that are being spouted. And I mean, it's a problem. It's a really big problem because they're using that as some sort of real life anecdote, and it's just not.
Does it amaze you that whenever, say, at the State of the Union and Trump says we will not be a socialist country, and people object to that? Does that surprise you at this point? This next generation, I had someone, because I did a video a while back that it's called "Let's Try Socialism," and I talked about why you don't try socialism. And I had a kid who sent me, it was a kid, 15 years old, sent me a message on private message and said, why can't we try some of these new ideas?
They're not new
and just see if they'll work. And I'm like, you're 15. Every idea to you is new.
Right.
So this one's been around for a minute.
Read a history book.
Yeah, exactly. Please. But it's amazing. I worry about it because the universities, the schools of whatever you want to call it, higher education, these institutions, they're more and more leaning that way to where it sounds like, hey, let's get free stuff. I didn't have to pay for my PlayStation. My parents got it for me. I didn't have to pay for my car. My parents got it for me. I didn't have to pay for my tuition. My parents got it for me. Or financial aid, and God only knows where that comes from. Who knows where financial aid comes from?
It just rains money.
It just happens. There's that tree out back, and you go and you pluck it. So they really do believe that the federal government can just print enough money to take care of anything you want.
Yeah, and I don't think that they discover that that's not the case until they get their first job, right? Every example that I can think of personally, I know for a fact that they go out and they get their first job and they look at their paycheck and they're like, wait a second, I thought I was making $50,000 a year and I was supposed to make X amount on my paycheck. This is way less than that.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a ton of taxes being taken out. And with all of these new things that they're proposing, the tax rate's going to be astronomical by that point, So I think that it's just, it's something that they have to go through. But, then you have these people who are getting degrees in, interpretive dance or something and don't actually get a job when they go out into the real world.
Yeah.
So maybe they just don't have a chance to experience that. I don't know. But I shudder to think of what universities are going to be like when, my son is it's time for him to graduate high school and figure out what he's going to do with his life. He's 6 now. So it's like, in another 10 to 12 years, I don't even know that they're going to matter anymore.
No.
I think they're going to be irrelevant.
I was in Moscow for the first time for 15 days right after the fall of communism. So it was right in the early 90s.
You were in Moscow, so can you prove that you did not collude with Russia at any point in time?
No, I did collude with them. I rode the train and the whole thing. And
that's what we
I
all
went to
thought.
the Moscow circus and I
That's
saw
what we
these
all
people.
thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what
I
they're
knew
calling
it.
it? Colluding?
And colluding.
I called it.
Yeah, well, it depends on how you define colluding, but yeah. So I was in Moscow, and we would ride out. We stayed in a flat outside of downtown, and we would get on a train, and we would go out to the schools in a little community called Zelenodorozhnya.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it was everything that you would think a place called Zelenodorozhnya would be. And they still had the old flags hanging up of the sickle and the hammer. They were the slums. These kids were in, and we would speak and teach in the schools. And these were cement block slum buildings. These are like the kind of buildings that you imagine Navy SEALs training in, right? No windows.
Yeah.
And just, and I'm like, this is a third world country.
Yeah.
The only thing Russia ever spent the Soviet Union, the only thing they spent their money on was military power. Their people suffered. People were poor. You would go into a store right in the heart of Moscow, and the meat would just be laying on the counter, the flies flying around. Here it is.
Yeah.
This was the heart of communism. This is where this leads. This is where communalism leads. This is where socialism, it's the next step from it. And that's one of those things that I can't, if you're not willing to embrace history. Like I had a guy who sent me a message and said, well, you can't actually prove that Stalin was responsible for that many deaths. And I was like, we have embraced the full-blown meaning of postmodern
Wow.
existentialism here if you're not willing to hold on to actual historical truth.
Facts. Yeah. That's insane.
That's what worries me.
Well, I mean, you just said it. You know, we're in this postmodern world.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it's post fact. We're not supposed to use facts and reason and history to guide us. We're just supposed to, you know, be in this postmodern world where everything is chaos. And, you know, you mentioned Russia. How about Venezuela right now?
Right now.
Right this second. And 10 years ago, our news organizations were propping them up as just this model example for the United States to follow. Look what happened.
Yeah.
And we're just supposed to overlook all of that and I guess say, well, they just didn't do it enough. They weren't socialist enough. They didn't go far enough.
Well, and in Venezuela, which has the greatest oil reserves on the planet, they were the third greatest economy on the planet. And now every citizen has lost on average 30 pounds because they can't eat.
They can't eat.
And they say, well, because their oil has been subsidized and so much control has been taken over by China. Well, that's because when you get so poor and so impoverished, you tend to call on these other countries that have cash reserves to help bail you out.
Right.
So now, yes, China does have a hold on the things you want to do. So
I mean, it is a good weight loss plan, I guess.
Socialism tends to help.
You don't have to go. You don't have to do keto.
Socialism's a hell of a lot better than keto, kids. Just remember, yeah. And trust me, starvation by any other name is just socialism. don't get me wrong. It is just socialism. So anyway, you just got married.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah, we're a couple months into it.
I love
End
it.
of December.
Yeah.
He works with us.
Yeah, he's here at the
Director,
studios.
yes,
And
yeah.
So you came in, and was it love at first sight? Let's tell that story.
Oh gosh. Am
get real.
I getting red or no?
Yeah.
I mean, no, it wasn't love at first sight.
Any more apple
Actually,
juice?
right? It wasn't actually. I know that people love to say that.
Never
Just
is.
I knew from the first moment I laid eyes on him. No, I didn't really.
It was for me.
It was
What? That was on Tinder.
Stop it.
She's
Yeah,
showing.
that was
That was
not
on
that.
Tinder.
Tinder is never love at first
She
sight.
saw me and she look at what she got.
Look at what she got.
I can promise you, Sean, that was not love at first sight.
I guarantee.
That was-
Call her up.
I guess I'm not doing anything else on a
Nope.
Wednesday night. I'll go out with this guy.
Call her up. She'll tell you.
Exactly.
She saw me in my Dallas Stars sweater, and she saw me in my afro. She was like, "I need that in my life.
I need a lot of black man here.
I need all of that."
You know, I know her. I can verify this.
You can call her right now and ask her. She'll tell you. It was love at first sight from this one.
Well, I don't think that that's the norm, though.
It's not the norm.
Yeah.
She got
it's-
blacked. It was all over.
Oh, boy.
There it
Yes,
is.
she did.
Oh, boy.
There
Yes, she
it is.
did.
No, it wasn't love at first sight for us. We were really good friends.
What did he ask you on a date?
I think I was the one who
Yeah.
asked him. He's very introverted. He's
I
a
can
little bit
see
shy.
that in Steven.
Yeah, he is
kind of a
very
quiet-
introverted. Yes. So I was the one who made the first move. I remember we were at a restaurant and we were sitting in this giant booth across from each other. And I was the one who got up and moved over to his side of the booth and moved in and went in for the kiss. So,
Look at you.
Yeah,
Tell us
well,
more.
You know, screw the patriarchy. I can't tell you what happened after
Screw the
that. Steve.
patriarchy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I
Good
mean,
job.
you gotta like
Well-
we're a good contrast, right? Because he is the introvert and I am the major extrovert. So what better way to balance that out?
You have a beautiful son,
Yes, thank you.
and how old is he?
He's 6.5.
6.5.
Yes.
Beautiful son.
Light of my life.
Just a beautiful, beautiful kid. Of course, I love the kids. I love them because it's just that's always been my thing is how can we? It's always for me. It's always been nations and generations. You know, how can we impact the nations? How can we spread our voice into the generations? And so I love the kids. It's always been a big passion of mine, and you got a sharp one. You really do. But did y'all do like a switching back to Steven?
Yeah.
Y'all do a destination?
We did.
Wedding?
We did. Yeah, we went and got married in the Dominican.
Oh yeah.
Yes, a couple days after Christmas, and it was just Steven and myself and my son, and then my parents. And his parents had something going on, so they
They had a
couldn't come.
thing.
They had a thing.
parents had a
Apparently, they don't like me, and they were busy that week.
Their favorite daughter-in-law was
Right,
doing
exactly.
something else.
I mean, who wants to fly away to the beautiful beaches of the Dominican in
love it.
75-degree weather when you can be here in Dallas in terrible, cold, rainy weather.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, just saying.
Because I remember talking to you like right before, because I was on the show, your show, right before you know, and you and I were still just kind of getting to know each other, because that was before we could announce that I was going to be coming on the network, and we were playing around with all that stuff. But I think anybody with any common sense could kind of pick up on where we were going, and so. You know, I was getting to know you and getting to know all the guys around here. When I say guys and gals and folks around here. And,
Sexist.
Yeah, totally sexist. I'm a redneck. I got a cousin that got arrested at a cockfight for selling chicken salad sandwiches. Trust me, I'm a redneck.
No, you didn't.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Somehow
girl.
I can believe
I can
that.
tell you stories. So, yeah, I used to, growing up in the trailer, I could hear my parents through the very thin walls. They were like, I don't want no more. No.
Oh, my gosh.
There was this one time when I was a kid that like I got scared in my bedroom or whatever, and I crawled out of my bedroom and through the hall, and I kind of went through my parents' bedroom and I crawled in and kind of snuck like towards under their bed, and all of a sudden things started going on up there, and I turned around and crawled back. I know.
Door locks are essential.
I know. My parents, I think it was unexpected from my mother too. My father was not a Casanova, and not at all. Not at all.
Hello, that'll wake you up at 2 a.m.
Diabetes is a bitch on your sex life. I'm just telling you. So it's bad circulation. But so apparently it was a surprise for everybody in the house. I don't even remember. I don't know. I think I used to do it just to see if I could do it, just see if I get caught. I still do things to see if I can get caught.
I believe that.
No, I think that Steven's parents just didn't want him to marry a Mexican. That's the deal.
That's probably true.
Did you hear the story of this kid? How are we doing on time, Mark? We're at 42 minutes. Okay, we got to go. Did you hear the story about this kid that wants to cut his penis off if Trump builds a wall? Like he said, I will do it publicly even if Trump builds 1 mile.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
What?
This is news and why it matters.
This is news and why it matters. Can you explain?
Yes, I'll tell you all about it. So this is the thing. This is the kid, California freshman. When I say California, University of California freshman, to cut off penis if Donald Trump builds a wall. This has been the topic of the week, and I love this. I love this. So in a bizarre form of protest, University of California freshman Seth Greenberg. So we're not talking about a circumcision because this is a Jewish kid.
This is a Jewish kid. You're right.
This isn't a what is it?
A bris?
This is not a bris.
Yeah.
Has promoted to publicly remove his penis. Didn't specify the method of removal. If Donald Trump begins project work on the U.S.-Mexican border wall. He said, I'm so confident that Trump is full of it. He said other words, but he said, I will cut my blank off publicly if he adds even a mile of new wall.
Get a little guillotine.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is a good reason for Trump to do this.
I'll pay for that 1 mile.
Yes.
Like get one of those cigar
Out of my
cutters.
pocket.
Just get one of those cigar cutters and just.
I've been to a bris before.
I mean,
I would probably have to like squeeze it a bunch of times. Just that didn't cut.
Can I
That's
get a V
dull
cut?
blade. Let me.
let's just be clear. Like, I don't need to see this. Oh gosh, I don't need to see this happen.
No.
I don't need to see it happen. But just to call his bluff.
Yeah, because he's not going to do it.
Gotta build.
Build a wall.
He said,
I will really do this. I feel that if he does actually build any of the wall, me removing my penis publicly will bring worldwide attention to the injustice being inflicted against the Mexican people.
This is Black Mirror. This is literally Black Mirror. This is what we come to.
Yeah. That's a mess.
It really is. Like what?
What
Cutting
does
off your
penis do to
penis,
him?
right? Like cutting off your penis. That's going to prove what?
Yeah.
That you're crazy. That's it.
Yeah,
that
you're nuts.
crazy, and you apparently never want to have sex
So
again.
first of all, if he did that, I don't think he's ever had sex to begin
That's
with.
a great
first
point.
Of all.
Well, he is in California. They're all a bunch of nuts.
Now,
Who
let me
knows?
explain this to you. If he were to cut his penis off publicly, they would arrest him because he's mentally ill. Which means you cannot do anything you want to do to your own body.
Practicing medicine without a license.
No, I'm going to go back to my point now. You can't do anything you want to without your own body, which is the primary argument for abortion.
Yes.
I'm a woman. I can do anything I want to do with my body.
You cannot tell me what I can do with my body.
Tell me what I can do. Now, if he cuts his penis off, you're right, he's practicing medicine without a license. It's just like selling chicken salad sandwiches without a food license at a cockfight. But you can't. That's the point. You can't do anything you want to do to your own body.
Right.
You can't. You're not allowed to do anything you want to do to your own body. So that's a huge argument against abortion. But still, this he's an idiot. He's made for fun fodder at every podcast episode we've done this week, though, because this guy. I want to do a Greenberg watch. I want to see. I want to put a camera on Greenberg's dick.
Crotch cam.
I want to put a. What's his full name?
I forget we're on podcast. We can say words like that.
I know. I want to do
crotch cam?
Seth Greenberg. Look at this kid. Look at this pimple-faced punk right here.
Oh,
he wants to.
please cut your penis off. You are not getting laid
there
anyway.
There he is. There's Seth.
It's
Seth
fine.
Greenberg. I promise you.
Do the world a favor.
He's not using it.
Do the females a favor, please.
If you're watching the podcast, there you can see Seth Greenberg.
Oh.
Don't procreate.
Yeah.
Right there.
I think he's just saving himself. That's his excuse for never getting laid. He'll be like, well, I cut my penis off. I couldn't do it.
I care about the Mexican people, but not that much.
Well, thanks a lot, Chad.
You're very welcome.
That's
I'll
just my
deport
people
your
you're
ass in
talking
a heartbeat. If I got to choose between him and you, you're out. Sorry, Gonzales, you're gone, girl. Y'all can go back to the Dominican. Get married, renew your vows or something. But no, me and Lil Chad are staying here in America, right here in Texas, by God, drinking whiskey.
Let it fall off on its own.
The more whiskey I drink, the more it ain't working anyway, so it might as well be gone. Sarah, see how much fun we have over here?
It's so fun. When
It's
can
a
we
blast.
do it again?
It's a blast. Here's what I'm telling everybody to do. First of all, subscribe to theblaze.com. You can you got a promo code, don't you?
I do have a promo code.
What's your promo code? Is it
It's news.
It's news. So blazetv.com/news.
Yes.
And then use promo code news. So
yes.
sign up using Sarah's deal. That's our thank you way of saying, hey, thanks for being on the show, and do it. I want everybody on this thing. I think that this is a conglomerate. It's a collection of conservative and, more importantly, pro-American voices of folks who just have a heart and conviction for things we believe in. And it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. And we're growing. It's getting bigger. There's going to be more people on here. It's fun on the podcast. It's fun on the different shows. I love being on your show. I think it's so relevant to today, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, you got to learn to talk to each other.
You do.
Even when you have differing opinions.
We have people, Andrew Heaton. Yeah. Nobody agrees with Andrew Heaton.
Andrew Heaton's crazy.
Nobody agrees, but you should watch, Something's Wrong with Andrew Heaton.
Something's off.
Something's off with Andrew Heaton.
I mean, both of those would be accurate.
Yeah, something's off.
Yes.
I messed it up. I apologize.
No, but we have a good dialogue with him, too. We don't agree.
I know.
But we have a respectful conversation, which should be happening everywhere.
I've been on about 4 of his episodes. I'm going to go on more, and we have a blast together. We went to dinner together one night. That was awkward. I wound up with diarrhea after eating sushi. Don't eat sushi in Dallas. Dallas, Texas is 7 hours from the coast. Don't eat sushi.
I mean, did he go with you into the bathroom, or
no? It was the next
just
day.
had
I woke
to
up
make a
about
quick
3
escape?
a.m. I woke up like 3 a.m. and I was like, oh.
Was he in bed with you? I mean, why was that awkward?
No, it was a weird conversation because it's Andrew Heaton. I mean, it's just
well, that's not awkward for him. That's just a regular conversation.
Andrew came out and I had the big road armor jacked up Jeep out there with the 400 Hemi engine, and he's like, "Well, that looks like a zombie apocalypse." And I started listing off the accoutrements of this vehicle and all of the different things, and he was like, "Okay, well, I gotta go." I mean, Andrew is the epitome of he's not changing spark plugs.
No, no.
So, but I appreciate him for his mind and his vocabulary, and that's enough. But I love you guys. Hey, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
And we're going to do this a lot.
Yeah,
if you'll let me, we'll do this a lot.
Absolutely.
It's fun.
Yeah, we'll do little trade-offs.
It's fun. I appreciate that. So you guys check out energyogre.com. Use promo code WatchChad. It's been a great week hanging with everybody. I hope you're enjoying being able to put the podcast in perspective by being able to watch it and to see it via video. People ask for it. People, for the longest time, they thought that the little things I was doing in my truck were my podcast. And so now I have people to go, what's this you're talking for like an hour now? And I'm like, this is the podcast. And you can get it.
Oh, yeah.
But what I tell people to do is, yes, you might watch it on YouTube or Facebook, but if you will, go to where you get podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all these different places. Get the and hit download because that helps us rank it. And so we're like rank 156, 150 right now in the comedy category. Out of 200, that's pretty good. But we've been real high on the all categories, so we want to be there again.
5 stars.
Yeah, you get it. Don't leave a 1 star. That's a bogus deal.
Why would anyone leave you a 1 star? Please.
Did you watch the Reverend Harold Swindle?
No.
You didn't watch it?
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
I need to see it.
Pissed a lot of people off.
You?
That's what we
His
did.
mother hadn't spoke to him in 3 days.
Nah, she texted me last night. She wasn't happy, but whatever.
Chad.
I love her, and she loves me. God bless you, Mama. I love you. I love you, Mama. Sarah, I love you. Sean, Brandon,
Love
Mark,
Love
Party
all of
Foul,
you.
Steve. I love you guys. And everybody out there watching, thank you guys for tuning in. Go to subscribe, blazetv.com/news. Use promo code news, and be sure to watch the news and why it matters. I love you guys. God bless you. Bye.